Hey, squirrel listeners. Hope y'all can hear it raining. It's raining buckets outside. Whew. We're still on chapter 2. You know, this one had like 50 pages in it. I'm not sure how far I got into it yesterday. I'll go back and read the last couple sentences. I'm beginning to encounter the Pringle antagonism in other quarters, socially as well as educationally. Summerside seems to be under the Pringle thumb. That's where I stopped. No wonder they are called the royal family. I wasn't invited to Alice Pringle's walking party last Friday, and when Mrs. Frank Pringle got up at tea in aid of a church project, Rebecca Dew informs me that the ladies are going to build the new spire. I was the only girl in the Presbyterian church who was not asked to take a table. I have heard that the minister's wife, who is a newcomer in Summerside, suggested asking me sorry, a lot of stuff coming up. Asked me to sing in the choir and was informed that all the Pringles would drop out of it if she did. That would leave such a skeleton that the choir simply couldn't carry on. Of course, I'm not the only one of the teachers who has trouble with pupils. See, teachers, not principal. One of you guys suggested she might be teacher and principal, which did happen. I remember in my 6th grade year at good old little faith school where they had lots of combination classes, like they wouldn't have enough for a whole 1st grade class, or they'd have a 1st grade class and then extras, and they might have a 2nd grade class but then extras, so they'd have a 1st and 2nd grade combination or 3rd and 4th combination, whatever. So there used to be lots of combination classes, and my 6th grade year, that was his 2nd year's principal, I think. He taught 6th grade also, so he was out of the room most all the time. And he could trust us to do our work. Gosh, we did our work. I think we graded our work. I think we did everything but put it in the grade book. And we worked in groups. And we stayed out of trouble as much as I can remember. Let's see. Teachers have had trouble with pupils. When the other teachers send theirs up to... Well, now here it goes. She is... When the other teachers send theirs up to me to be disciplined, how I hate that word, half of them are Pringles, but there's never any complaint made about them. 2 evenings ago, I kept Jen in after school to do some work she had deliberately left undone. 10 minutes later, the carriage from Maplehurst drew up before the schoolhouse and Miss Ellen was at the door. A beautifully dressed, sweetly smiling old lady with elegant black lace mitts and a fine hawk-like nose, looking as if she had just stepped out of an 1840 bandbox. She was so sorry, but could she have Jen? She was going to visit friends in Lowville and had promised to take Jen. Jen went off triumphantly, and I realized afresh the forces arrayed against me. In my pessimistic moods, I think the Pringles are a compound of Sloans and pies, but I know they're not. I feel that I could like them if they were not my enemies. They are, for the most part, a frank, jolly, loyal set. I could even like Miss Ellen. I've never seen Miss Sarah. Miss Sarah has not left Maplehurst for 10 years. Too delicate, or thinks she is, says Rebecca Dew with a sniff. But there ain't anything the matter with their pride. All the Pringles are proud, but those 2 old girls pass everything. You should hear them talk about their ancestors. Well, their old father, Captain Abraham Pringle, was a fine old fella. His brother, Myram, wasn't quite so fine, but you don't hear the Pringles talking much about him. But I'm desperate. Desprit. Desperate, afraid you're going to have a hard time with them all. When they make up their mind about anything or anybody, they've never been known to change it. But keep your chin up, Miss Shirley. Keep your chin up. I wish I could get Miss Ellen's recipe for pound cake, sighed Aunt Chatty. She's promised it to me time and again, but it never comes. It's an old English family recipe. They're so exclusive about their recipes. In wild, fantastic dreams, I see myself compelling Miss Ellen to hand that recipe over to Aunt Chatty on bended knee and make Jen mind her P's and Q's. The maddening thing is that I could easily make Jen do it myself if her whole clan weren't backing her up in her devilry. And then it says in parentheses, 2 pages omitted, your obedient servant, Anne Shirley. P.S. That's how Aunt Chatty's grandmother signed her love letters. Obedient servant. October 15th, we heard today that there has been a burglary at the other end of town last night. A house was entered and some money and a dozen silver spoons stolen. So Rebecca Dew has gone up to Mr. Hamilton's to see if she can borrow a dog. She will tie him on the back veranda, and she advises me to lock up my engagement ring. By the way, I found out why Rebecca Dew cried. It seems there had been a domestic convulsion. Dusty Miller had misbehaved again, and Rebecca Dew told Aunt Kate she would really have to do something about that cat. He was wearing her to a fiddle string. It was the 3rd time in a year, and she knew he did it on purpose. Aunt Kate said that if Rebecca Dew would always let the cat out when he meowed, there would be no danger of his misbehaving. Well, this is the last straw, said Rebecca Dew, consequently, tears. The Pringle situation grows a little more acute every week. Something very impertinent was written across one of my books yesterday, and Homer Pringle turned handsprings all the way down the aisle when leaving school. Also, I got an anonymous letter recently full of nasty innuendos. Somehow I don't blame Jen for either the book or the letter. Imp as she is, there are things she wouldn't stoop to. Rebecca Dew is furious, and I shudder to think that she would do to the Pringles if she had them in her power. Nero's wish isn't to be compared to it. I really don't blame her, for there are times when I find myself that I could cheerfully hand any and all the Pringles a poisoned filter of Borgia brewing. I don't think I've told you much about the other teachers. There are 2, you know. The vice principal, Katherine Brooke of the junior room, and George McKay of the prep. Of George, I have little to say. He is a shy, good-natured lad of 20 with a slight, delicious Highland accent, suggestive of Low Shillings, Shieldings. And let's see if I could look that up. Oh, sometimes it just won't highlight it for me. Highlight the word. There we go. Now, come up and tell me what you mean. Shieling is how it's pronounced. Scottish, a roughly constructed hut used with pasturing animals. And the second definition is Scottish also, an area of pasture. Okay. And Missy Allen. His grandfather was Isle of Skye and does very well with the preps. So far as I know, I like him, but I'm afraid I'm going to have a hard time liking Katherine Brooke. Katherine is a girl of, I think, about 28, though she looks 35. I've been told she cherished hopes of promotion to the principalship, and I suppose she resents my getting it, especially when I'm considerably her junior. She is a good teacher, a bit of a martinet, but she is not popular with anyone and doesn't worry over it. She doesn't seem to have any friends or relations and boards in a gloomy-looking house on grubby little Temple Street. She dresses very dowdily, never goes out socially, and is said to be mean. She is very sarcastic, and her pupils dread her biting remarks. I am told that her way of raising her thick eyebrows and drawing, yes, D-R-A-W-L-I-N, drawing at them reduces them to a pulp. I wish I could work it on the Pringles, but I really shouldn't like to govern by fear as she does. I want my pupils to love me. In spite of the fact that she has apparently no trouble in making them toe up the line, she is consistently sending some of them up to me, especially Pringles. I know she does it purposely, and I feel miserably certain that she exults in my difficulties and would be glad to see me worsted. Rebecca Dew says that no one can make friends with her. The widows have invited her several times to Sunday supper. The dear souls are always doing that for lonely people and always have the most delicious chicken salad for them, but she never came. So they have given it up because, as Aunt Kate says, there are limits. There are rumors that she's very clever and can sing and recite. Eloquent a la Rebecca Dew, but will not do either. Aunt Chatty once asked her to recite at a church supper. We thought she refused very ungraciously, said Aunt Kate. Just growled, said Rebecca Dew. Katherine has a deep, throaty voice, almost a man's voice, and it does sound like a growl when she isn't in good humor. She isn't pretty, but she might make more of herself. She is dark and swarthy, with magnificent black hair always dragged back from her high forehead and coiled in a clumsy knot at the base of her neck. Her eyes don't match her hair, being a clear light amber under her black brows. She has ears she needn't be ashamed to show, and the most beautiful hands I've ever seen. Also, she has a well-cut mouth, but she dresses terribly. Seems to have a positive genius for getting the colors and lines she should not wear. Dull, dark greens and drab grays when she is too sallow for greens and grays and stripes, which make her tall. Lean figure, even taller and leaner. And her clothes always look as if she slept in them. Her manner is very repellent, as Rebecca Drew would say. Not Drew. She always has a chip on her shoulder. Every time I pass her on the stairs, I feel that she's thinking horrid things about me. Every time I speak to her, she that sounds so good. Makes me want to go to sleep. Every time I speak to her, she makes me feel I said the wrong thing, and yet I'm very sorry for her, though I know she would resent my pity furiously, and I can't do anything to help her because she doesn't want to be helped. She is really hateful to me. One day we 3 teachers were all in the staff room. I did something which, it seems, transgressed one of the unwritten laws of the school. And Katherine said cuttingly, "Perhaps you think you are above the rules, Miss Shirley." At another time, when I was suggesting some changes which I thought would be good for the school, she said with a scornful smile, "I'm not interested in fairy tales. Once when I said some nice things about her work and methods, she said, and what it is to be the peel in all this jam. But the thing that annoyed me most, well, one day when I happened to pick up a book of hers in the staff room and glanced at the flyleaf, I said, I'm glad you spell your name with a K. Katherine is so much more alluring than Katherine with C. Just as K is ever so much gypsier a letter than smug C. She made no response, but the next note she sent up was signed Katherine Brooke. I sneezed all the way home. I really would give up trying to be friends with her if I hadn't. A queer, unaccountable feeling that under all her brusqueness and aloofness, she is actually starved for companionship. Altogether was what Katherine's antagonism and end of Pringle attitude. I don't know just what I'll do if it wasn't what I'd do if it wasn't for dear Rebecca Dew and your letters and little Elizabeth. Guys, I'm going to stop right there for a minute. I got to go get my water because I forgot it. Be right back. Oh, I don't know how to edit. Grr. Oh, mercy me. Listen to that rain pouring down. Just a pouring. Pouring. Oh, I'm poor knees in this poor chair. They give way. My knees give way when I'm sitting down. I just hope the chair never does. These are the little candies I love. Oh my gosh. OMG. Let's see. Because I've got acquainted with little Elizabeth, and she is a darling. 3 nights ago, I took the glass of milk to the wall door, and little Elizabeth herself was there to get it instead of the woman, her head just coming above the solid part of the door so that her face was framed in the ivy. She is small, pale, golden, and wistful. Her eyes looking at me through the autumn twilight are large and golden hazel. Her silver gold hair was parted in the middle, sleeked plainly down over her head with a circular comb, and fell in waves on her shoulders. She wore a pale blue gingham dress and the expression of a princess of Elfland. She had what Rebecca Dew calls a delicate air, and gave me the impression of a child who was more or less undernourished, not in body but in soul, more of a moonbeam than a sunbeam. And this is Elizabeth? I said. Not tonight, she answered gravely. This is my night for being Betty, because I love everything in the world tonight. I was Elizabeth last night, and tomorrow night I'll probably be Beth. It all depends on how I feel. I like to try to get my sign all in there. Let's see. There was the touch of the kindred spirit for you. I thrilled to it at once. How very nice to have a name you can change so easily and still feel it's your own. Little Elizabeth nodded. Phone's ringing. I can make so many names out of it. Elsie and Betty, Bess and Eliza and Elizabeth and Beth, but not Lizzie. I never can feel like Lizzie. Who could? I said. Do you think it's silly of me, Miss Shirley? Grandmother and the woman do. Not silly at all. Very wise and very delightful, I said. Little Elizabeth made saucer eyes at me over the rim of her glasses. I felt that I was being weighed in some secret spiritual balance, and presently I realized thankfully that I had not been found wanting. For little Elizabeth asked a favor of me, and little Elizabeth does not ask favors of people she doesn't like. Would you mind lifting up the cat and letting me pat him? She asked shyly. Dusty Miller was rubbing against my legs. I lifted him, and little Elizabeth put out her tiny hand and stroked his head delightedly. I like kittens better than babies, she said, looking at me with an odd little air of defiance, as if she knew I would be shocked, but to tell the truth, she must. I suppose you've never had much to do with babies, so you don't know how sweet they are, I said, smiling. Have you a kitten of your own? Elizabeth shook her head. Oh, no, Grandmother doesn't like cats, and the woman hates them. The woman is out tonight, so that is why I could come out for the milk. I love coming for the milk because Rebecca Dew is such an agreeable person. Are you sorry she didn't come tonight? I laughed. Little Elizabeth shook her head. No, you're very agreeable too. I've been wanting to get acquainted with you, but I was afraid it mightn't happen before tomorrow comes. We stood there and talked while Elizabeth sipped her milk daintily, and she told me all about tomorrow. The woman had told her that tomorrow never comes, but Elizabeth knows better. It will come sometime. Some beautiful morning she will just wake up and find it is tomorrow. Not today, but tomorrow. And then things will happen, wonderful things. She may even have a day to do exactly as she likes. Exactly as she likes with nobody watching her, though I think Elizabeth feels that is too good to happen even in tomorrow, or she may find out what is at the end of the harbor road, that wandering, twisting road, like a nice red snake that leads, as Elizabeth thinks, to the end of the world. Perhaps the island of happiness is there. Elizabeth feels sure there's an island of happiness somewhere where all the ships that never come back are anchored, and she will find it when tomorrow comes. And when tomorrow comes, said Elizabeth, I will have 1,000,000 dogs and 45 cats. I told Grandmother that when she wouldn't let me have a kitten. Miss Shirley, have a kitten. And when she wouldn't let me have a kitten, Miss Shirley, and she was angry and said, I'm not accustomed to be spoken to like that, Miss Impertinence. I was sent to bed without supper, but I didn't mean to be impertinent, and I couldn't sleep, Miss Shirley, because the woman told me that she knew a child once that died in her sleep after being impertinent. When Elizabeth had finished her milk, there came a sharp tapping at some unseen window behind the spruces. I think we had been watching all the time. My elf maiden ran, her golden head glimmering along the dark spruce aisle until she vanished. Yes, a faithful little creature, said Rebecca Dew, when I told her of my adventure. Really, it somehow had the quality of an adventure, Gilbert. One day she said to me, Are you scared of lions, Rebecca Dew? I never met any, so I can't tell you, says I. There will be any amount of lions in tomorrow, says she, but they will be nice, friendly lions. Child, you'll turn your eyes if you look like that, says I. She was looking clean through me at something she saw in that tomorrow of hers. I'm thinking deep thought. I'm thinking deep thoughts, Rebecca do, she says. The trouble with that child is she doesn't laugh enough. I remembered Elizabeth had never laughed once during our talk. I feel that she hasn't learned how. The great house is so still and lonesome. Still and lonely and laughterless. It looks dull and gloomy even now. When the world is a riot of autumn color, little Elizabeth is doing too much listening to lost whispers. I think one of my missions in Summerside, will be to teach her how to laugh. Your tenderest, most faithful friend, Anne Shirley. P.S. More of Aunt Chatty's grandmother. And that's it. Woo! These long chapters. Let's look at chapter 3 and see how long that one is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Only 8 pages. And 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4. Not even 4.5. So we're getting shorter ones coming up. Maybe I can read 2 chapters when I get to those. That would be nice. Okay, y'all have a happy day, and yay, I'm on today live at 5, and I'm so glad. I always look forward to our chats. And I've got a name to add to the prayer list that I should have added all along, and it's the friend of the family, Sue, who lost her husband to the virus. I don't know why I didn't think to put her on there, but we need to put her on there and leave her there for a while. But anyway, I hope you're praying for all the folks we mentioned. And if you need to remember who that is, you can go back to the end of most of my lives, like the end of yesterday's. That's where we mentioned them. Or just pray for everybody, because the Lord knows who. All right, see you later. Love you bunches. Be sweet. Don't be ugly.